It can keep pace with an M3 competition, yet it has 10-year ownership costs that are lower than many Toyotas and Hondas. Hi, this is Joe from Way Scarff Ford, and today we're talking about this 2024 Model 3 Performance. So for the 2024 model year, the Tesla Model 3 got a pretty heavy revision. You could almost call it like a redesign. It's looking much different and it's much better. So many improvements to go over. And on top of that, we have the Model 3 Performance, which this one is, which also gives you a lot of improvements to differentiate it from the regular long-range Model 3, unlike the old generation Model 3 Performance, which was only slightly different than the normal all-wheel drive Model 3, and we'll get into that in this video. So we saw a completely redesigned interior. It's looking better than ever. We have this new ambient lighting. I think it's like 64 different colors. You can't really see it at now, but at nighttime it creates a cool ambient effect. The strip runs along the whole dashboard, along the doors. A new steering wheel. We have a new center console design. It's looking much, much better. I'm a big fan of the Model 3. I have a 2019 Model 3, so I'm a bit envious. Hopefully one day I'll be able to update mine. I've had mine for about 2.5 years. I've been driving Teslas and making Tesla videos and buying and selling Teslas for car dealerships for the past 5 years. I've bought and sold hundreds of them. Very impressive vehicles. So for the old generation Model 3 Performance, the biggest differences were you had a more aggressive wheel and tire package. You had like a red underline underneath the all-wheel drive logo. You had bigger brakes, and then they had software unlocking more power from the vehicle. But aside from that, the old Model 3 Performance wasn't that different looking than the regular Model 3 all-wheel drive long range. It was faster in a straight line by a great margin, but you actually could get a software update on the old Model 3 long range, unlocking 100 more horsepower, getting it pretty close to the Model 3 Performance level. So aside from that, there wasn't a huge difference. Not the case of the 2024 updated Model 3 Performance. Inside, the biggest thing you'll notice are these really cool supportive seats. These are completely different seats than when you get on the regular Model 3 long range or standard range. These seats are a lot more comfortable, a lot more bolstering in the seats. And then you get this new Performance logo for the Model 3. It's not plaid, it's the Performance logo. It looks really cool. This has a nice premium white interior. The majority of the functionality is in the screen. I know there's some old school, automotive enthusiasts that like hard buttons and knobs, but cars are turning to smartphones on wheels. In the days of the Nokias and Blackberries, it was more hardware, buttons to push, but increasingly cars are turning to computer or like smartphones on wheels. So the software that powers them is very important. And the software is constantly getting updated and improved. If you have hard buttons and knobs, they're there forever. This screen is infinitely reconfigurable. Since I've had my Tesla over the last couple of years, my screen has changed. The graphics have changed. It's gained features. It's one of the few vehicles that actually gets better with age. My car has gained so many features, has gotten better as it aged, thanks to software updates keeping it relevant. My screen has not everything, but it has a lot of the functionality and features that this screen has, thanks to over-the-air updates. Kind of like your iPhone. You don't have to have a latest and greatest iPhone to have the newest iOS or the newest features. You can have an iPhone that's 3, 4, 5 years old, and you can still, get improvements and features with the updates. That's also the case with the Tesla. And Tesla, their software is almost like it was designed by Apple. It's very intuitive. There's a depth to this user interface that I have not seen to any other vehicles. I mean, if you look at the games, you look at the toy box, you have an on-screen browser. With premium connectivity, it's $10 a month, drop in the bucket. You can stream music, it streams internet, so you can use an internet browser. You can't do this while you're driving. You can, while it's parked or you're supercharging, you can watch Netflix, Hulu, YouTube. There are very few other vehicles that have a depth to it. And they're constantly updating. There's actually an over-the-air update right now. Tesla can fix recalls. They can improve things very quickly. Since they're a vertically integrated company, they have a lot of control. There's a level of synergy with Teslas that you don't have with other vehicles, because Tesla builds and controls and writes the software for far more of their parts in-house, where a lot of other auto manufacturers, they outsource. You know, pretty much auto manufacturers these days, aside from Tesla, they'll put an engine, they make the engines, but a lot of the other components, they're made by OEMs, and basically the car manufacturers, they just put cars together. Where Tesla, they try to source as much of their materials, their components as they can in-house, so they can have that vertical integration and have that synergy. So they don't need to call some OEM, oh yeah, we have a recall on this part, we need to write a new firmware update, and they'll be like, okay, Tesla, we'll get that out to you in about 3 to 6 months. Well, where Tesla, they can do the firmware update in-house and fix it, and they can roll it out in a matter of days. They're operating, you know, far ahead of a lot of other manufacturers. We're reaching the point where the software is becoming very important in cars, and car manufacturers have been making cars for over 100 years. Many of them, they're great at making the mechanical bits of the car, but they're not that great at making software. Software is not easy to make. That's why, you know, every smartphone manufacturer doesn't make its own software. You have either iOS or they use Android operating systems, because it's just too costly. There's car manufacturers that have tried to do it, that have spent $billions on a software company to write automotive software in it, and has been an epic failure. I'm not going to name names. We'll probably see a lot of auto manufacturers move to like a Google operating system. Google's making operating systems for cars, so we'll probably have Tesla, Rivian has their own, proprietary software, and then, probably Google will do the majority of it for everyone else. So yeah, and this is the thing that people don't think about. And I guess if you don't experience it, if you don't go and play around with the screen and use it, I guess you don't know what you don't have. But once you know about it and you experience it, it's hard to go back. So yeah, there's just so much to talk about these cars that I just have a tendency to ramble on. We have Autopilot, which is amazing at traffic-aware cruise control, which allows the vehicle to brake, accelerate, and steer in its own lane. It's a godsend. You don't know how much mental energy it takes just to keep your vehicle centered in its lane on the highway. And to do that for an hour and stop and go traffic, to have the vehicle take the workload off of you, it's a big relief mentally. I can't tell you enough. You'll be spoiled by it. And if you do want to try it, this has the amazing hardware for it. It has the latest in the self-driving computer system and cameras. You can buy the full self-driving software for $8,000, but you can subscribe to it for $99 a month, and Tesla gives free trials. I have full self-driving in my Tesla. I've been using it for 2.5 years. 2.5 years ago, it wasn't for everybody. It was really quirky and buggy. I was like in the beta programming, so me using it helped Tesla improve it. But now, after update, improvement, it's to the point where I don't even have to keep my hands in the wheel. I can just keep my hands on my side. I say I want to go to work, I want to go wherever. The car takes me there. It makes left and right hand turns. It merges on the highway. It passes people. It works amazing. There's people driving 100 miles now outside of New York City without touching the steering wheel for $99 a month. You do need to pay attention. It has a camera monitoring, so you're not daydreaming or messing with your phone, but it's really nice. I am so spoiled by my full self-driving Tesla, and it's just going to continue to get better. With a premium connectivity, you have these amazing Google Maps. This has a fully charged range of about 300 miles. So you're going to charge it at your house. You set up 220 charging at your house, and you wake up the next morning and it's fully charged. So you having the fast charge it's going to be very infrequent unless you drive a lot. But if you do drive a lot, Tesla has an amazing supercharging network. So you can hit this button to find nearby chargers, and they're all over the place. Look, within 10 miles, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 chargers near us. And you just click on where you want to go, and it will navigate you there. And you can see it's preconditioning the battery for fast charging. It's always good to let the vehicle know when you're going to a supercharger, even if you know where it is, because it'll preheat the battery so it charges faster and more efficiently. Really important when it's cold, when it's below zero. All those horror stories where people say my battery is cold, it's freezing out and I couldn't charge it. That's because they didn't precondition their battery. If they did that, then they wouldn't have had those charging issues. But we have chargers here, luckily, so we'll just get this charged soon. It's about ready for a charge. And then, obviously there's range anxiety. Am I going to drive somewhere? How will I know if I have enough range to get it? Well, guess what? Tesla's got your back with its amazing trip planner. It takes all the range anxiety out of owning an EV. So for instance, we only have 55 miles of range. So if I wanted to travel across this great state of Washington to Spokane, if I spelled Spokane right, near the Idaho border, we're in the Seattle-Tacoma area, I just put it in there and it plans the whole trip for me. It tells me where to charge for, how long to charge for, how much range when I get there, how much range when I get to my destination, and then it also can figure out round trips for you. So if you want to see if you have enough range to make it to your destination and back without charging, the trip planner will figure that out. And this trip planner is very, very, very complex. It takes tire pressure into consideration, outside ambient temperature, elevation, even wind speed. Oh, it's it's fast charging. I can hear that battery heating up. So it takes all that into consideration to have a very accurate range estimate to where you're going or to making it to a supercharger. So it's always got your back. You don't need to worry about having enough range if you just put your destination in there. The Tesla will figure it out for you. And with Tesla superchargers, they have 50,000 superchargers located throughout the world, the majority of them in the United States. You can pretty much travel almost anywhere in the United States without having, with a supercharging network. It's that good. Sorry, these cars are just so different. I have a tendency to ramble on about them. Nice color combination. We have these Tesla all-season mats. So the Performance also has an aggressive wheel and tire package, a more aggressive wheel and tire package, larger brakes. And the one thing that you can't see with the Model 3 Performance is you have adaptive dampers. Pretty much the old Model 3 Performance had like a little bit of a lower suspension height, but you didn't have adaptive dampers. So that's a big performance upgrade, and it makes a big difference when you use a drive mode selector. You put it in sport mode versus a different drive setting, a non-sporty drive setting. You can feel a big difference. Also, the Model 3 Performance has a little bit of a different front fascia design. We have a splitter at the bottom of the bumper. The old Model 3 Performance, visually aside from the wheel and tire package on the outside, maybe it had like a carbon fiber spoiler on the back. Aside from that, the old Model 3 Performance really looked the same as any other Model 3. All right, since we don't have an engine up here, we have a frunk, more storage. It's also a safety feature. By the way, this car is very safe. You have a crumple zone that's 60% larger than a gas car without an engine up there, and now you have all this space to absorb crash energy in a frontal collision. You have a crumple zone that's 60% larger than a gas car. And even though the Model 3 is a compact, you have lots of interior space. I had that front seat adjusted for my height. I'm 6'2". Look how much space I have back here. I got plenty of headroom, plenty of legroom, very comfortable. Since we don't have drive shafts and gas tanks and exhaust systems in the middle of the vehicle, it just frees up the whole middle of the vehicle for an open floor plan. And also, with the updated Tesla, they added a screen in the back, so you can operate climate control. You have heated seats in the back. You can listen to music and get wireless headphones and enjoy your own music. You can watch movies. You can play video games. You can control some other settings as well. Pretty cool stuff. You also have USB-C connectivity right there. Nice styling on the rear, and this is a great feature here. We have an underbody diffuser, but we can see how we have this black plastic part kind of projecting outwards. And this is by design. One of the most common collisions is getting rear-ended. And on the old Model 3, Tesla is finding in minor rear-end collisions that it was causing more damage. So as you can see, since this sticks out further than the rest of the bumper, if you have a mild rear-end collision, this will take the brunt of the impact and it will reduce repair costs and reduce damage to the vehicle. We also have that performance badge right there. Got a power-operated trunk. We got a trunk mat. We have the original floor mats in there. It looks like they were never used. Is what caused the reason why everyone else is really heavily investing into making EVs, and we see EVs from pretty much any other manufacturer right now, is because of Tesla. Tesla made this huge charging infrastructure. They're building huge battery farms in replacement of natural gas peaker plants. They are transforming the world to clean and sustainable energy. And you can say, I guess if we're gonna get in the weeds, you charge your car, but that energy comes from coal power plants, or it comes from dirty energy. Well, guess what? This car travels 300 miles on the equivalent energy of about 2.5 gallons of gas. So even though this car might be charged by dirty energy, the energy that it uses it much more efficiently than an internal combustion engine powered car. Luckily for us here in the Pacific Northwest, we get a lot of our energy from hydroelectric, so it's clean energy, and we benefit from some of the lowest utility rates in the world, in the country. So it's even better for us. It's even more economically better for us in the Pacific Northwest to drive an EV. And on top of that, we have some of the highest gas prices. And then you factor in low ownership costs. Like the Model 3 has some of the lowest ownership costs. The Model 3 has the lowest ownership costs over a 10-year period out of any other vehicle. Not Toyotas, Hondas. Then you get into high-end vehicles like Porsches and Range Rovers, which are like $16,000, $16,000 over 10 years. The Model 3 is right around or under $5,000. So you can have a car that can, like I said, keep up with an M3 competition and has far lower ownership costs. And hardly any maintenance. No expensive things for regenerative braking. The brakes will last 100,000+ miles, 150,000 miles. No expensive oil changes, no coolant flushes, no big 30, 60, 90K services, no fuel system cleaning services. I can go on and on. It's like an appliance. I mean, there's tires, there's a cabin filter, there's wiper blades, but aside from that, not that much other maintenance to do. Well, that's my long-winded spiel about the new 2024 Model 3 Performance. Fantastic vehicle. Thanks for watching, and have a great day.